prosecutions that were instituted by my predecessors, that is the Honorable Gloria Akufu and the Honorable Godfrey Dami, Yebo Dami. Specifically, I decided to drop the criminal charges laid against certain government officials who served in the NDC government that left office in January 2017. My fellow citizens, I did so mindful of the fact that I am serving in a government that came to power on the back of promises of exacting accountability from everyone who has served or is serving in public office. I am here today to account to my fellow citizens for the decision that I have taken so far. As your Attorney General, I am keenly aware of the fact that the prosecutorial authority vested in me under Article 88 of the Constitution is discretionary in nature and is subject to the constitutional requirements set out in Article 296 of the Constitution. The import of these constitutional requirements is that in the exercise of my prosecutorial authority, I must not only act reasonably and fairly, but I must comply with all the requirements imposed upon me by law. I must also be candid with those whose life and liberty depend on my decisions. In addition, the Constitution requires that my decision to prosecute should not be capricious, biased, whether in resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike. Before taking any of the decisions I am about to explain, I consulted widely. One, I had several briefings from the Director of Public Prosecutions, that is the DPP, on each of the cases. Where I disagreed with her, I made my disagreement known to her with reasons. Two, I spoke to the defense lawyers in each of the cases, and again, where there were disagreements, as for instance in the banking cleanup cases, which I shall deal with shortly, I made my views known to the lawyers. Three, I spoke to some of the investigators involved in the cases at hand to get a sense of what they found during the investigation of the cases. And finally, I met with and discussed the banking sector cases with at least one of the receivers involved in those cases. I have scheduled a meeting with the second receiver, which is yet to take place. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, my fellow countrymen and women, the traditional view within the legal profession has always been that the Attorney General owes nobody an explanation for his decision to enter a nolle prosequi, which is Latin for there shall be no prosecution, or terminate a prosecution. But that view does not comport with the architecture of our Constitution, and I absolutely disagree with it. As ably articulated by Poorman JSC in his concurring opinion in Gregory Afoko versus Attorney General, which is suit number J1/8/2019, Supreme Court, dated 19 June 2019 at page 20, and I quote, "The decisions to prosecute and to terminate prosecution of suspected offenders is a matter of immense public interest. Furthermore, it affects the rights of the suspected offenders who may be compelled to suffer the indignation of prosecution when there is absolutely no point in mounting prosecution on the facts of the case. It is because of these considerations that the modern trend in democracies is for prosecutorial authorities to be open about the factors on which they take the decisions to initiate or terminate prosecutions." End of quote. Therefore, my decision to be open and transparent.
For about 2 years, the OSP point that up to now the OSP they enjoy the services of soldiers and police to guide them on the advice of state security.
Mr. Speaker, the simple point I want to make is that all regimes at all times have used the military together with the police in certain operations. You agree that that is the case? So today, if you see the military and the police working together, you cannot suddenly create an impression that something that is unacceptable has happened. Because we have used them together. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, night security, just night security, when we should be deploying the police.
A prosecutor should and must have the courage of his convictions and must remain fearless to stand by those convictions even in the face of a severe storm of public criticism. Strident criticism should not be the reason why a self-respecting prosecutor must abandon his professional convictions in favor of political praise. So I am owning up, fellow citizens, to stand by the professional decision I took that in my current position as Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and for that matter, the prosecutor in those cases, I was not going to suddenly recant my professional position and continue to prosecute the accused persons in those two cases. No new evidence has been presented to me upon assumption of office as Attorney General to cause me to abandon my professional convictions. As an aside, in any decent constitutional democracy, the disgraceful and unethical conduct of the former Attorney General, the Honorable Godfred Yeboah-Dame, in interfering with a key witness who also happened to be the second accused in the Atto-Forson case, should have resulted automatically in a mistrial. But let us leave that for another day. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the second reason why I dropped the charges in some of the cases, as I stated above, is that the charges were defective and upon careful scrutiny were filed against the promptings of plain common sense. In the case of Republic versus Collins Dauda and others, for instance, the first accused was charged with misapplying public funds to the tune of 200 million United States of American dollars. In laying the charges, the prosecution failed and or neglected to take account of the basic fact that it was part of that 200 million US dollars that was used to construct the houses at Shagleme. In other words, the value of that built environment is, in my considered opinion, a key determinant of how much of the total sum was allegedly misapplied by the Honorable Collins Dauda. Discounting the value of the built environment renders those charges, in my considered opinion, defective. The prosecution in this case also failed and or neglected to take account of payments that were made by other ministers who took office after the Honorable Collins Dauda. For instance, the Honorable Atta, as Minister of Works and Housing, approved a payment to the tune of 5 million United States of American dollars in 2017. That ought to have been considered in determining the value of state funds that the Honorable Collins Dauda had misapplied. But that wasn't done. And note, ladies and gentlemen of the media, that the Honorable Atta was never charged, even though the Honorable Collins Dauda was charged subsequent to the actions of the Honorable Atta. So I leave that to your own considered judgment as to why that happened. Now, in criminal law, an accused is entitled to know with precision the crime that he has committed and the burden that he must discharge in order to prove his innocence. This is basic criminal jurisprudence, and the charges in this case, and the other in terms of the cases affecting the other accused persons, fail to meet the standard of precision required to put an accused person on notice of his criminal liability. Ladies and gentlemen, the third reason why I dropped the charges in some of the cases was that the evidence adduced so far fell significantly short of what was required to convict the accused persons, and yet the state pressed on with the prosecutions. I consider that to be a total waste of state resources. As noted by Puamang JSC in Afoko and Attorney General, that is the case that I cited earlier, the prosecution may enter a nolle prosequi in situations where, upon review of the proceedings, the Attorney General detects fatal flaws in the case which may lead to the acquittal of an accused person. In other words, a nolle prosequi may be entered to avoid possible verdict against the prosecution. My review of some of the cases certainly revealed fatal flaws in the case of the prosecution. A few examples are in order. In 2 of the banking trials still ongoing, I took the decision to withdraw the charges against Mr. Johnson Pundit Asiama for a simple reason that in the course of my review of the cases, my attention was drawn to an internal memo prepared by the Prosecutions Division of our department for the attention of the former Attorney General, the Honorable Godfred Yeboah-Dame, which recommended that the charges against him be dropped. This is very significant. This is an internal memo prepared by professional prosecutors advising the Attorney General that the charges against our current Bank of Ghana, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, be dropped. Note that Mr. Johnson Pundit Asiama was charged with contravention of the Banking Act for granting a facility of 300 million cedis to Universal Merchant Bank and for causing financial loss to the state in the sum of 150 million Ghana cedis. The internal memo, which I just cited earlier, concluded as follows. This is very instructive. It says, a study of the facts of the case indicates that the initial facility of 300 million has been recovered, leaving 150 million outstanding. This office has confirmed from the Bank of Ghana, that is, the Attorney General's office has confirmed from the Bank of Ghana through Mr. Alexander Tarr, that is PW2, prosecution witness 2, that the interest from the outstanding amount is presently being serviced by UMB Bank. Mr. Tarr also indicated that UMB has an amount of 150 million locked up with CBG, that is Consolidated Bank Ghana. It is expected that when the said sum is released to UMB, the loan amount for which A3, that is Johnson Pundit Asiama, was charged with causing financial loss to the state will be repaid to the Bank of Ghana. This therefore may render the charges proffered against A3, that is Johnson Asiama, moot, leading to his discharge. So the professional opinion of the prosecution division was very, very clear that the charges against the current governor of the Bank of Ghana are unsustainable. In other words, factually, and then in terms of the evidence available, he could not be convicted of the offenses charged. Obviously, the former Attorney General failed to act on these recommendations which were made to him by the prosecution division. If he disagreed with the recommendations, I am unable to say, but I agree with them. Based upon these recommendations, I dropped the charges against Johnson Pundit Asiama in both the Unibank and UT Bank cases. In coming to this decision, I am fortified by the rule contained in Rule 40, Sub-Rule 2, Clause A of the Legal Profession, Professional Conduct and Etiquette Rules 2020, that is LI 2423, which provides that in a criminal case, a prosecutor shall refrain from prosecuting a charge that the prosecutor knows is not supported by the facts. But note that I have not yet dropped the charges against the remaining accused persons because I am currently in discussions with the receivers in order to understand the financial implications of any decision I may take in the future. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, my third reason for dropping the charges was that in some of the cases, the evidence led so far showed that there was reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the accused persons. And as stated earlier, the ethics of the legal profession mandate that a prosecutor should not continue to pursue a case in the face of overwhelming doubt regarding the guilt of the accused. In other words, where a charge is not supported by the facts and evidence, a prosecutor is ethically enjoined to drop the charges. I'll give you, an example. In the case of Republic versus Stephen Opuni and another, the entire case was built around the fact that an untested liquid fertilizer, Litovit, was purchased by Cocoa Board, and further that the fertilizer was not efficacious. In the event, according to the case of the state, all sums of money spent by Cocoa Board to purchase this fertilizer caused financial loss to the state. Rather strangely, not a single farmer was called by the prosecution to prove this fact. On the contrary, officials at Cocoa Board who were invited by the investigators gave statements to the effect that Litovit fertilizer was one of the most effective fertilizers purchased by Cocoa Board, and that the farmers preferred Litovit fertilizer to the granular fertilizer. More importantly, in the course of the investigations, Cocoa Board took statements from two farmers. Whilst one stated that he did not see any significant change on his farm, the second farmer stated that after using Litovit fertilizer, he saw a significant increase in yield, and that Litovit fertilizer is a very good fertilizer. Again, in the course of the trial, the defense tendered an official report from Cocoa Board which covered field visits by Cocoa Board officials. The report, which was tendered, was to the effect that Litovit fertilizer is a very good fertilizer and was the fertilizer of choice in areas in which Litovit fertilizer was supplied. This is clear evidence that, contrary to the case of the prosecution, the use of Litovit fertilizer rather increased the yield. The farmers who used Litovit fertilizer, including the then national best farmer, in their evidence testified that Litovit fertilizer increased, the use of Litovit fertilizer increased their yield, and that it was a good fertilizer. During the course of their investigations, the investigators had two reports from Ghana Standards Authority on Litovit fertilizer. The first report, which was later confirmed to have been done, and listen to this carefully, members of the press, to have been done at the Cosmetics Department of GSA, the department which does not have the mandate to test Litovit fertilizer, okay, indicated that the sample of Litovit fertilizer submitted for testing did not have any fertilizer ingredient in it. This finding was challenged by the accused persons and the investigators, together with representatives of Cocoa Board and the suppliers of Litovit fertilizer, took a second sample from the warehouse of Cocoa Board. This sample, which was again tested by the same Ghana Standards Authority, but this time by the proper department with the mandate to test fertilizers, concluded that the samples taken was fertilizer in the first place, and that the fertilizer was efficacious. Furthermore, it is interesting to note that in this case, the complainant, that is Dr. Edu Ampoma, who was the third prosecuting witness, PW3, lied under oath to implicate the accused persons, for which reason a perjury application was filed by Dr. Stephen Opuni against him. The then trial judge, Justice Hoyenuga, for reasons which are totally unacceptable, did not hear the application, but rather stated that hearing the application will prejudice the hearing of the main case. He therefore adjourned the application until the conclusion of the case. This is most unacceptable because in a criminal trial, it is important to hold the scale of justice evenly, and any doubt raised must inure to the benefit of the accused persons. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, my fellow countrymen and women, the judiciary in our country is independent under the Constitution. In the context of criminal justice, judges demonstrate their independence by remaining neutral and impartial arbiters in disputes between the state and individual citizens. The scales of justice must be held in a delicate balance between the obligation of the state to prosecute crime and the right of the accused to a fair trial. Conduct by judges that undermines the fair trial rights of citizens should be concerning to a self-respecting prosecutor. Without meaning to impugn the integrity of any of the judges who were involved in the cases in respect of which I have either entered a nolle prosequi or withdrawn the charges, I am deeply concerned not only about the conduct of some of the judges, but also concerned about the fact that the executive branch took certain actions that could be reasonably interpreted as inducements to convict the accused persons. An ethical prosecutor must endeavor to protect the innocent and convict the guilty. And one cannot do so if the judiciary is not impartial. When Justice Hohenuga single-handedly expunged otherwise exculpatory evidence from the record in the Opuni case, and then proceeded to rule that the accused had a case to answer in his ruling on submission of no case, he was far from portraying a vraisemblance of neutrality. Indeed, he directly undermined the fair trial rights of the accused persons. Again, when in accordance with law and practice, Justice Anoche Jima decided that he was going to hold a de novo trial, that is a new trial, in the same Opuni case after when Hohenuga went on retirement, the retirement of Hohenuga. He was instantly transferred to Kumasi, and the case was allocated to a new judge, who then proceeded to adopt the proceedings and continued the prosecution. Also, the decision by the executive branch of government to promote some judges who were sitting on some of the cases is very concerning. The perception, whether true or not, is that the promotion may be an inducement to convict the accused persons. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, fellow countrymen and women, in conclusion, I wish to make it abundantly clear that I did not take these decisions lightly. As I indicated above, I consulted widely and reviewed the files diligently before coming to a decision on each of the cases. You would note that in some cases, such as the SNIT case and the banking cases, I withdrew the charges against some of the accused persons, while others are still under consideration. I am keenly aware of the need to balance the public interest, in this case, against the interests and rights of the accused persons. Also, as Attorney General, I take absolute responsibility for all the decisions so far taken. I am not under any instructions or pressure to discontinue any case or to bring charges against anyone. Those who are in a haste to tag His Excellency the President of the Republic as a clearing agent should hasten slowly, because he is not responsible for prosecutions and has not directed me to drop any case. Moreover, with the exception of one charge of bribery in the Opuni matter, in respect of which, listen, no evidence was laid, none of the persons affected by my decision so far has looted state resources. There is a gulf of difference between the offense of causing financial loss to the state or misapplication of state funds and the offenses of bribery, corruption, or that of using public office for private gain. In the latter offenses, the individual charge can be accurately labeled as looters. In the former, it will be thoroughly unfair and actually defamatory to label the accused persons who have, as people who have looted state resources. So I thank you very much. These are the reasons for my decisions, and I will now take questions if there are any. Thank you.
We're still live on TV3. We've been bringing you live coverage of the press conference by the Attorney General, who has just finished speaking to the media primarily to give reasons why, upon resumption of office, he filed a number of nolle prosequis on cases that have been pending in the courts. One of it being the fact that he thought a number of them did not have the requisite evidence. So let's go back and listen to the questions being asked.
That's what we're seeing now, with you giving reasons for the decisions taken, is a standard that would continue in subsequent decisions of discontinuing cases, if you are going to discontinue any more cases from today. And then also, these persons who are affected by these cases that you have discontinued, have any of them sought compensation from the state because of what, according to you, they have been subjected to, which you say is unfair? And then also, from the reasons that you gave, especially with reference to the Atoforsen and the banking sector cleanup case, you referenced the unprofessional conduct of the former Attorney General. Are you minded or going to consider taking any action whatsoever against him if that's the position that you take, because of the description that you give to some of the decisions that he took? And maybe finally, you give very detailed reason for the decision to discontinue the case against Dr. Siama. With the UMB, clearly, as indicated, 300 million has been paid, 150 million outstanding, and there are already measures to have UMB, that money, unlocked with CBG. But in the UT Bank case that he was involved in as well, what reasons did you have in discontinuing that charge against him? Thank you.
We'll take a few more. Please don't follow Alfred's example. Stick to one as much as possible. Yes.
Senior, my name is Hansen Ajuman. I work with CTFM Channel 1 TV. On the first reason, which has to do with the ethics, and because you were lawyer for some of the accused persons, even though you did not represent them in court, I want to find out, would that be the posture going forward for all cases that your firm may have represented that the Attorney General's office is prosecuting? And because as a lawyer, you would definitely have to have faith in the case that your juniors will take before you allow them to do so, or yourself will do so, meaning that those cases you're going to discontinue same. And then for the second and third reasons, for some of the cases, people think that there are genuine reasons why the state should go against some people. For instance, for the Saglemi housing case, apart from the fact that the fact as the Attorney General's department made known that the houses were less than the number that was initially contracted for, and more money has actually been expended than what was agreed, the housing project itself has stalled, and Ghanaians will want somebody to take the fall for that. Should we take it that this is the end, or you're reviewing your books to see if you can get some better evidence and even get some other people to prosecute? Thank you.
Thank you. Take another one, and then we'll take a response. There's no hand raised.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Alfred, for that battery of questions. Yes, as I made clear in the statement that I read to you, I think that every Attorney General has a constitutional obligation to make clear his or her decisions when it comes to dropping charges, whether you are entering a nolle prosequi or you are actually withdrawing the charges. That is because I think that an Attorney General is not above the Constitution, and an Attorney General is subject to the requirements of Article 296. Now, for those of you who are interested, Article 296 is on the exercise of discretionary power. All right? And the power to prosecute is discretionary in nature. Okay? You have to make a decision to file the charges, You have to make a decision regarding the witnesses that you want to call. You have to make a decision, regarding whether or not to drop charges, as I've just done, and so on. So it's discretionary in nature, and it's subject to the provisions of Article 296, which says that the exercise of discretionary power cannot be arbitrary. All right, and then the exerciser of the power must be fair and candid. Right now, I don't know how anybody can be candid without explaining themselves. Okay, so for me, I think that this is a practice that has to continue. I may not in future be calling a press conference of this nature, but at least I may issue a press release, basically outlining the reasons why I have taken, I've taken a decision in respect of a prosecution or the other. Then your second question relating to compensation. I have not cited any formal request for compensation. As Attorney General, I'm not going to encourage it, and that if any request for compensation come, take it from me, I will fight it. Okay, take it from me, I'm going to fight it. Okay, so I'm not serving a warning to them not to bring requests for compensation, but if they do, I will fight it. Okay, now your third question said something about unprofessional conduct. I think I've yes. I mean the former Attorney General. I think I want to reserve my views on that one, and to say that when we come to the bridge, we will cross it. So I'm reserving my comments on that one. Now, if you notice from the internal memo that I was referring to, there were two segments. One, the 300 million was in relation to Unibank. The 150 was actually in relation to UT. All right, and the memo covered both. And that is how come that I was comfortable dropping the charges, in both, because, I took the view, which was, shared by the professional prosecutors, that a charge of causing financial loss to the state will not be sustainable. The reason is simple. The charge of causing financial loss to the state is a legal concept, but it is drawn from accounting. All right. Now, if you say that financial loss has been caused, it means that through either the intentional or reckless or negligent actions of a public officer, all right, the state has incurred a loss that is irrecoverable. Now, I have always taken the view that where the so-called loss is recoverable, then it is notionally, and practically not a loss. So if the state can pursue and recover it, I'll be hesitant to take action against a person. But what has happened, look, let's go back to the history. The offense of causing financial loss to the state was first enacted under PNDC Law 78, I think. And that provision said anyone who does an act with intent to sabotage the economy of Ghana, all right, commits an offense. Okay, when we came into constitutional rule, because of the vague nature of the provision in PNDC Law 78, the lawmakers decided to redefine it, and that is how come that the offense of causing financial loss to the state, is on our statute books. All right. So for me, I think that unless we have a situation where the loss is, irrecoverable, right, then you should not charge a person for causing financial loss. That is why the professional opinion of the prosecution division, is telling, because basically what it said was that, okay, the amounts in question for which the current governor of the Bank of Ghana was charged, okay, have been recovered. So if you've recovered the amount, then no loss has been caused to the state. So he should be discharged. Okay? It's as simple as that. Why the former Attorney General decided to, proceed with the charges and to put the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Esiama, through the harrowing experience of attending court with potential consequences for his liberty, I am yet, to find out. Okay, but I do think that ultimately, I haven't seen his reasons. He might have, given some reasons to the prosecution division. I haven't seen them, but I think that my guess is as good as yours. It was probably animated more by politics than by law. Right?
Are you mandated to make that memo public for us all to see it, just in the spirit of transparency as you're doing now?
Well, I will think about it, because let me tell you something. There are public officers still serving in my department, all right, who are, who authored this memo. I have to think carefully about the consequences for them, in making the memo, public, all right, before I can do so. I have to be very considerate in making that decision. So I'm not ruling it out, but I have to be very considerate in doing so. Yeah. Yes. No, not GH1. Is this City? Channel 1. Yes, you asked about whether this is going to be my posture in all other cases in which my firm, is involved. The answer is no. The answer is no. That is because in some of the criminal cases, and I don't think my firm has taken any cases that, are as high profile as this, right? But if they are defending a murderer, I don't see why I should step in and, say I'm entering a nolle prosequi. Okay? Now, I will be very concerned if the state interest, okay, the state interest in the matter. Well, I will think about it, because let me tell you something. There are public officers still serving in my department, all right, who are, who authored this memo. I have to think carefully about the consequences for them, in making the memo, public, all right, before I can do so. I have to be very considerate in making that decision. So I'm not ruling it out, but I have to be very considerate in doing so. Yeah. Yes. No, not GH1. Is this City? Channel 1. Yes, you asked about whether this is going to be my posture in all other cases in which my firm, is involved. The answer is no. The answer is no. That is because in some of the criminal cases, and I don't think my firm has taken any cases that, are as high profile as this, right? But if they are defending a murderer, I don't see why I should step in and, say I'm entering a nolle prosequi.
One of the cases that you mentioned in one of your earlier interviews, and of course, the case regarding Oliver Barker, former, the treason felony one also pending at the court. And of course, you didn't say anything about the Democracy Hub cases that you also filed a nolle prosequi in respect of.
Last question, please. I think that was the last question.
Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you very much, Mutala, for the questions. Now, I have given you reasons why
contractual arrangements between Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and the Ghana Revenue Authority for the stated objective of the enhancement of revenue assurance in the downstream petroleum sector, upstream petroleum production, and minerals and metals resources value chain. Contractual arrangements between Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and the Ghana Revenue Authority for the stated objective of the enhancement of revenue assurance in the downstream petroleum sector, upstream petroleum production, and minerals and metals resources value chain. 2. Termination of a distribution, loss reduction, and associated network improvement project contract between the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited and Beijing Xiaocheng Technology BXC. 3. Procurement of contractors and materials and activities and payments in respect of the National Cathedral project. 4. Activities and payments in respect of a contract awarded by the Ministry of Health, initially commenced by the Ministry for Special Development Initiatives to Service Ghana Auto Group Limited for purchases and after-sales service and maintenance of 307 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 305 CDI ambulances for the National Ambulance Service. And 5. Payments out of and utilization of the tax refund account of Ghana Revenue Authority. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the fugitive's name is Kenneth Nanaya Oforiwaa-Atta. Mr. Oforiwaa-Atta is 66 years old. He was the Minister of Finance of the Republic between 2017 and 2024. Mr. Oforiwaa-Atta left the jurisdiction on or around 2 January 2025. On 24 January 2025, the OSP communicated to Mr. Oforiwaa-Atta that the OSP considered him a suspect in respect of 4 of the cases described above. Mr. Oforiwaa-Atta was directed to attend in person the OSP on Monday, 10 February 2025 at 10 GMT for interview. By communication dated 31 January 2025, Mr. Oforiwaa-Atta instructed his lawyers to inform the OSP that he was out of the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds, and that the firm will notify the OSP of his arrival in the country in aid of rescheduling his personal attendance at the OSP. Further, the firm offered its willingness to provide the OSP with any information the OSP
interest was in knowing why the public office holders were left off the hook. I have discontinued the charges, I've dropped the charges against the public office holders. As far as Democracy Hub is concerned, I took the view and I expressed it, I don't know whether Alfred remembers, but I expressed it on your network, that the prosecution was totally unwarranted and that it had the potential of violating the rights of the citizens to express themselves in the form of demonstrations. I had taken that legal professional view. So I didn't see any reason why I should now come back. Very much like the cases in which I have said that because of my strong professional and ethical views about them, I did not see the reason why just because I have changed position now, I'm the Attorney General, I should continue to prosecute anybody who was involved in those cases. In the case of Democracy Hub, I was not involved professionally, but I took the view that it was a violation of their right to freedom of expression. So those of you look at Article 33 of the Constitution on the enforcement of fundamental human rights. The exceptions are very, very clear, and you must demonstrate one of those exceptions in order to say that a person cannot. That is 33 clause 5 of the Constitution. You must demonstrate with evidence that a person is not entitled to the exercise of his fundamental right. And I don't think that happened in the Democracy Hub cases. So I discontinued them. And rightly so. Yes. Which one? Oh, Justification. Okay. So in the case of Justification, as I noted, I did not take these decisions without consulting the defense lawyers in all the cases. I consulted the defense lawyers. All right. The reason for the consultation was so that I am not seen as acting in an arbitrary manner. Okay. So I decided to consult long sessions of discussions with him. And he told me he wants to soldier on and prove the innocence of his client. And I respected that view. So that is how come that Justification is not part of those that I have, discontinued. Thank you for drawing my attention to that. I have not yet reviewed it, but thank you for drawing my attention to that. Good. Well, I thought that was the last question by Mutala. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Two more, and please bear with us. Two more, okay? Alfred and then
Yes. Good evening. I'm Kenneth. I work with Joy News.
Okay.
I work with Joy News. My questions. The first one is there's been name calling that the ordinary Ghanaian is saying that President John Dramani Mahama has become a clearing agent. Mm-hmm. My question is, are these cases, is the president aware that you've dropped these cases? And what is the president's opinion on these cases? And then the last one is, just today, the special prosecutor declared the former finance minister, Oforiwaa-Atta, wanted. I want to pick your thoughts on that. And then when are you also going to start with your own prosecution of cases? We know that the oral committee has finally submitted their report to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And in the spirit of the discontinuation of the case, I want to find out if you're going to review the case of Gregory Afoko. That is one that has come up for mention after these decisions that you took recently. And then also the killings in the 2020 elections. When are you going to also pay attention to that? Because the president has directed the IGP to investigate and put together a report. Yeah. Any update on that, please?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Ken, from Joy News, your first question is the accusation of a clearing agent labeled at His Excellency. Now, if you all recall, the former president, the title clearing agent was used to refer to the former president, that is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. When the term was used, it was rightly used because Nana Addo Dankwa, His Excellency, was directly involved in most of the time issuing statements, writing letters. I saw the love letter to Cecilia Dapa stating that he is confident that he will be innocent. He will be declared innocent. All right. So that is how Ghanaians labeled him the clearing agent.
So, Captain, yeah, so far so good. It's early days yet to pass judgment.
Because as I've said in my statement, all right, he's not been involved in any decision. I have not briefed him on any of these decisions.
all right, I will, at the appropriate time, maybe do a cabinet memo, all right, so that His Excellency and my cabinet colleagues will be formally informed of the decisions that I have taken. All right, until then, His Excellency remains innocent and stands far away from the decisions that I've taken. And I have told you that I am, taking absolute responsibility for all the decisions, okay, as the Attorney General. It is my responsibility. If there's any fault in the decisions I've taken, I will take I am taking responsibility, today, and I'll take responsibility in the future. Regarding the OSP, recall that the OSP law seeks to make the OSP independent of the Attorney General. Now, even though I disagree entirely with it, not because I am now Attorney General and I want powers over the OSP, but if you go back to the Parliamentary Hansard, when the law was being enacted, I was one of those who argued strongly that that power rightly belongs to the Attorney General under the Constitution. When I was making those arguments, the Honorable Gloria Ekufu was the Attorney General, right? I wasn't the Attorney General, and I had not dreamt of becoming Attorney General. So I wasn't trying to arrogate to myself any powers then, okay? However, because the legislative intent is to make the OSP independent of the Attorney General, I am a bit reluctant to interfere in the work of the OSP. However, I think that it is only right that because he's exercising prosecutorial authority, which belongs to me under Article 88(3) of the Constitution, all right, I should be in the know regarding, his actions. So he's one of the agents, OSP is one of the agencies under the Attorney General's Department, and at the appropriate time, I will call for a briefing on everything that he has done, including the press conference that he held, today. I myself, woke up to the press conference. I did not know that he had taken those actions. I'm not blaming him for taking the actions. Until I know the substantive content of the actions he's taken, I cannot, begin to say anything about them. There was a third one, Ken, if you remind me. Yeah, when am I going to start prosecutions? As I said earlier, mounting a prosecution is a very, very, very painstaking adventure. Okay, so we are going to look at the oral report. In fact, we have started reviewing them. My able Deputy Attorney General designate, the Honorable Justice Sumsai, has been tasked with reviewing the reports. We'll be having our first meeting, technical meeting, on Friday. And if there are any low-hanging fruits, I am sure you'll see prosecutions taking place, before the end of the month or even into the early parts of next month. All right, but as I said, my position is that I will not charge anybody and go back and look for evidence, okay, against them. I will never do that. Look, maybe I should tell you this. In July of 2017, I was in my house when my son came and knocked on my door and told me that he had seen on the CCTV gun-wielding policemen at the gate. This was around 6:30. So I woke up, freshened up, looked into my own, the CCTV, and I saw them. I recognized one of them because as Deputy Attorney General, I used to work with them. So I recognized them because I recognized him. I said, no problem, they are not armed robbers, so let them in. They came in and then said they were investigating me for corruption. in the Ameri, in respect of the Ameri plant. Okay? So ask them, okay, what did they want? If they were going to put me under arrest, I was ready to be arrested. If they wanted to search my house, I just wanted a search warrant. Now they refused to give me the search warrant, and I refused to allow them to search the house. Eventually, when they showed me the search warrant, it detailed only 3 items. Okay? Documents, computers, and phones. So I told them, okay, so you have an arrest warrant that limits you to taking these items. So please go ahead and take them. They went ahead and took them. As for the documents, I told them they can go back to the AG's department because I didn't steal any documents on that transaction and take them home. So they left. After a while, they looked through the entire house. Then they left. They actually placed me formally under arrest, but then one of them, the inspector, said there was no need to take me in handcuffs to the police station. Now, after everything, they combed my laptops and phones and everything. They did their investigation. They found nothing. Absolutely nothing. Okay? And then they returned the laptop to me. Why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because it was one of the most harrowing experiences that I've had in my public life. Very harrowing. The fact that you wake up in the morning and there are policemen, in your house, searching the house, and then potentially they could take me into. I've never slept in a police house. A police station. I've never done that. I have defended criminals and gone to see what they go through. I don't want to put anybody's father or mother through that unless there is a reasonable basis to do so. So we are going to be very, 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 very careful, and we are going to be very diligent in investigating so that when we come to arrest you, we know that we are doing so because, there's a reasonable basis for it. So to your question, when we'll start prosecutions, I can tell you we are working on the oral, reports, and if there's a basis, if our investigation shows that there is a basis, we will go ahead and then prosecute. Now, Alfred, I'm hoping that these 2 questions are your last questions.
On President Mohammed's government because 1 month there enough. Yes, but I think the signs are so far demonstrating somebody will go back to the bench. We'll see most of his mistakes. He's making amends and trying to do things differently. And I think that is why the last time I was telling you, some of the decisions, executive decisions, are intact. The clarity of thought, that kind of way. So I think so far so good. With this oral thing, I am very familiar with the sort of bastardization started when the committee was set up. People were arguing the legal backing, the legal framework, regulating. Minim when ye hear legal framework and say set up a committee to receive some of these things. But now I catch you say, no, any prosecutorial powers say or prosecute will be. They don't have power to set charge or invite or be say chin my information. They are there as a platform and receive just information from Ghanaians. At the end of the day, Omonsaka said the Omonsaka and Roya, what they call my president, he will forward it to institutions or more prosecutorial powers to do further digging and investigation on your evidence, not evidence, our value. Our meeting so as standing the test of your first prosecution at court, then we proceed in that particular direction. Because about 2 years, I drive all the elections, I've seen call a perception of corruption. And we got to a point here now it was no longer perception, but faces were rather placed behind the corruption cases. And and if we drew a point, Ghana for be so numb with the issues, but that's all right. And the corruption, if you are you don't even get space to discuss. My cultures are politics, and yeah, sorry, and issues of corruption, but because oh, young fan chair, and as you no, Captain, a perception and they inform me everything. So at the until last number catches all quite sorry them near the tools so won't offer will be here, but me so me the money. But in politics, me the money is not there. Because it is the perception that informs among for political opinion and the choices that they make. So we are politicians, as we are government, you must always move in to dispel any notion of corruption. And then so we check here institutions or measure corruption, you know, they use perception. Because I know that they what people see, you know, and they inform me their thought and everything. So the move by the president, and I think that is appropriate. It also emboldens public confidence because you know, say in recent times, a man for trust or more in the establishment or government, you know, I reduce you. A man for any trust. It got to a point that the government was somewhere, and I say watching what will happen. But if you begin to do some of these things, it will engender and inspire people. Say, oh, Abani is serious. He's really fighting corruption. And I think that the public support you can enlist it to do this particular thing. Because the nature of human being is such that so we we are naturally dangerous and very corrupt. And he always, man must make sure that there are consequences and repercussions for every decision and choices that you make. But we live in a country where there is no conventional deterrence. The consequences are there. So that you create a free range. And it's the reason why we saw what happened. So this oral thing, the amount of money, the estimation, so what is Sikana Sebi? Now to one we crash show. So my carbon $3 billion. Yet meet na Kromama Quabra need to me we are over about 20 billion. Clearly, we need to do a lot to salvage the situation. So I think that is a good move that will embolden public confidence. Now, said it shouldn't be just populist politics or populist approach. Oh, ya can ya ban a few days, ya bob and crata, and whenever nothing happens. And I don't know the day. Idea about ebe prove crucial in this fight against corruption has to do with the court. Captain, we need to touch the court. Because I know the day, the whole prosecution is going to happen. We know what happened in the previous administration when there was this desperate attempt to pack the court. The question they say na honorable Sikano, enkonkwaye case ye pia adeni nyina kogu ho 4 years in the assembly. Ghana for want swift reaction and response. Na enkoye back and forth. I don't support the idea of setting up your friends Kufuor Pence or fast track high court and as for. I don't support it. But you know, there are ways we can fasten some of these prosecutions. There is real commitment to end up pinning this particular thing. Because Captain, going forward in Sono, it's not just about previous what has happened. What will happen to these people should also send a clear message to people who will be in this government. So politics governance going forward, it's no more business as usual. The mere fact that what this particular government in Muno doesn't give you the license and the audacity to mess up. Mess up, prosecute too. Because that is, in politics, the easiest thing to do is to prosecute your political opponent. It's easy. But the raw deal comes when you take upon yourself to prosecute your own people. And I think that is where we need to tell people, the rest is yours. So ahemfone asofo na omonam dan achi na ye kopacha wo na so ora we ya buy prosecution be sha say enye nwanwa ahemfone asofo be sha say e kopacha ma omonana no mo fase enum. So I know the day the energy ya de yes ade we nyina no wo be he na ni nyina akofom. I know the day obia be lose God and everything goes. Then we come to an era of corruption once again where people think say politics is an avenue I can easily make money and get away. Captain, now this hostile intrusion, a lot of people, everybody want to do politics. Because that is the easiest way to make money in this country. Because there are no consequences for actions I think that we really need to send a message say governance, privileged position, for unim de no wunyansa aboa na ye nchechire oman sebe ya ado the ordinary and the average Ghanaian na all need those opportunities ne privileges na wo no ono benya that particular benefit na e be an avenue a conduit where people go make money. I know they get away, there are no consequences. Now no make cash or South Korea omo president and na man investigators called Konano because of issues of corruption. I don't know what happened. The whole sitting president was investigated. And this is the height that these people have elevated the fight against corruption to. By the other day, easily, but those who are stealing millions of dollars, they get away. So I think there is a wake-up call for all of us. Issues of corruption as a future prominently in this administration, because one of the reasons Ghanaians voted, exactly. We don't want to see corruption. Yes, and you cannot afford to fail the people. And the first, you need to pay few people in the media. You control the political narrative. The corruption, and they win to me, Captain. The space has widened, and then yesterday now I was telling somebody saying that there are no consumers of news anywhere. We are all prosumers. We are producing and consuming at the same time. Yeah. Because once you have the capacity to go on social media and post, you are producing news. You read Obidia, you are also at the same time consuming. So we are all prosumers. The platform has widened with this new innovative tech platforms. You can't control the narrative anymore. Few traditional media can almost set the agenda and people will discuss government, and you see the youth are becoming wide awake and enlightened, following issues of politics with keen interest. And this they can easily tap on their phone, do comparative analysis, or they compare other countries. Oh, this is wrong and so forth. So the best thing any government can survive in this country, and they say obey the right thing. Now what making sure say you serve the people diligently. Now issues of corruption and as for bar, obey show real commitment. Now ya boa, now ya fighting. Because Makase, with this new government, Ghana for are not expecting governments or Kotoka Mobi and our Mobi cash at the bottom do the right thing, and that is all that the people of this country want. Captain, you don't understand the veil of desperation hanging around this country. Young people come out of the university, there is absolutely nothing that they can do for themselves. And I know a lot of people are with degree programs and so forth, but they are traveling to Middle East and other places just to work for money. And sometimes working conditions out there, it's so funny. Sometimes you begin to wonder. But these people are going because on minor team, Captain, opportunities be anyhow. The last time I make about your mineral regime, I okroma say, yet me gold, yenya diamond, nano yenya lithium, na ya de afra man for moment jimuntu na moment 10%. Sometimes you begin to wonder why efforts why you. And this initiative, also in the community, the people there are deprived. The last time we spoke about Obuasi, and now Obuasi land and answer to the extent there is nothing that any young person living at that particular place can use the land to do. Yeah, to assassinating in say now no lithium. We spoke wisdom to the president, but he was not amenable to those concerns being raised by the people. I know the day the lithium now. You know very well, so lithium is the new gold because the world is going green. That's right. And when you have such natural resources, what you have to do is say you partner companies of more resources, you pay them, you own the thing, you set up a plant, you create job opportunities and incentive for people. But now you 21st century, you gold, you lithium, no. Say 10%. We were celebrating these things. Now no one Botswana. Your friends saying. Diamond company, one of the biggest diamond extraction company in Botswana. They've gone to the stance of doing 50-50 at this time. Even though me 50-50 I disagree. Yeah, sure. You understand? By 1090, 1585. Now how a man for a language in poverty, where people are being impoverished in this country, especially in this community, the veil of hopelessness, people traveling Ghana for Mugu Libya because but the opportunities are not there. I think the government needs to sit up. We see there is a lot to do. That is why the last time I mean who said your more be position no more jubilating. Me say this is no time to be jubilating. Sure. Because you don't understand the enormity of that has been given to you. You mess it up. There you see how Ghanaians will go after you. You understand? The mere fact that people voted for NDC doesn't mean that you come and mess up and everybody will go quiet. No, you need to take into cognizance that particular support na the confidence na amanfo anya no, and you deliver on that so that amanfo will continue to invest that particular trust na yem build the governance na yem reposition your friends Ghana na yem change the political narrative na people will not assume say oh politics there eye krono na mom ye hu say eye avenue ya the build your mind na ye nimdifo ne nasefo ne bewuram na adwenkyere na ye de akekere o mind na o mind na ko enye fertile avenue to come make money and then I know they take care of your family, you take your family outside na nasefo. No, that is the notion we are seeking to kill. So I think they're so far so good. Okuja Tony the team omaya there, and those on the other side are now more engaging in this cynicism, creating an impression say you're witch hunting. Captain, we are witcher, you will be hunted. So we are witcher, you will be hunted. Now, okro no a wo ha on saying, so when you say why you're born here, then you should be worried because it is not the president that is going to prosecute you. It is the people of this country. Because Abra President Mahama in the campaign, Opa, I checked some of the indices among 4 years. Do you know that one of the reasons people voted for him the aura?
Oh yes.
Yes. One of the campaign promises gaining a lot of traction because we got to a point that you say corruption among 4 years to a point that would describe it. So the only way is to come out with such an initiative to recover that particular thing. And to overpower, you cannot afford. Is the reason why I'm happy. Say one of his earliest decisions that he took at the time, showing commitment and the respect for the people of this country. Said, this is what I told you. This is what I'm going to do. And that energy, you know. Now, yes, you pursue this particular thing. You're making sure, say, yes, set to the stage. And Ghana, no, we've established that conventional deterrent so far as corruptions are concerned. Oba, you will be prosecuted, you will be hunted. And trust me, there are a lot we can do to save this country. And yes, sir, Captain, on my way, you better politics are dirty, and this MPP politics, you know, acceptable depending on where you stand across the political divide, and the bear informing your opinion. So assembly a wrong crowd, you defend it, then we all get away. I think that now Ghana for a wide awakening. They are following the issues. Is the merit and a man for a share, not the other side, the politics and the emotional activism. We are looking at the political, saying the governance aspect of Buama Ghana for a DE. And I think that is what we need to come do. So government it meet twice or year. The government will be able to enlist the collective strength and the support of all Ghanaians to rebuild the Ghana we all want. And I think that is the best way.
All right. And then we can come up power, but Council of State, Honorable Kakra. Na Ivan Fakakra so na fe. Ya ko nchene so.
Okay.
Ya be kan nchene ho asem.
Council of State. Say na odi kan kan ene na omoto omoso aba. Na 16 regions no obia be yi nipa baako e de abeka ho. Na President ewe kwenya so ofa nipa baako 15. Edeka ho. A move for no ye some guarded former IGP, former Chief Justice,
former CDS.
So those and the regional house of National House of Chief,
the President of the National House of Chiefs. Yes.
Na ono na 11 account na near udi kan say omu na two president for. But Ghana Constitution is on your binding.
Yeah.
So now the can no. Then say a foot will be at the sanity. Me took foot to Captain. Who program ye say my green am but it's not binding on you.
What can we
So, but we are praying say regions now be to abaning 2 assembly members from each district. Oba akoto abano on oba akoto abano omo hwe nipa sebio owo nimde ewo amambu ho na obetumi aboa president niam no bebre wo ho a you say president dane de ma omo for omo afuto even appointments bi no kura wo ho a se ese ogi afuto free omo ho ansana sa appointments no adimu. So they be here nipa omuye level headed. Said papa we die. So okoka president to na o tunufo a obetunufo a ebeboa Ghana fo. Ebi ni say ye ka corruption any bribery asin katashe ne proye. Na ebia nipa no a oti ne community no kra no nipa na dodo na omuye nipa ati true for pa na omo e dodo no ya ahemfo aye nim sene e bia o ye ohene no oman hene ananse ohene bia the area homo nim dwuma a odi so odwuma a odi na se dwuma ne di no ho adanse se oba obetumi abeye na enye ne oba abepe no ho ananse ye kase na corruption ne bribery na ono nso so already kra mu ni say ne ho ebon oniam bi ho so e be stress delegates no they should look at things very well and normally eba sa electoral college system no e we ye side of the country and I say world na electoral college system no emwa bebre because the numbers are very few and obi wo ha he can marshal all the resources to just buy the few. My region like nipa 22 na ekoto aba 11 districts nipa 22 so obi a nani abre pass and answer or bibi say you know he can easily influence the delegates with money. I have to say there are just 6 districts 12 and ekoto aba oko savannah nipa 12 northeast the same thing so nipa 12 there you can easily but ni nyina mu no a gentleman does not refuse an offer offer na nipa ne de ma but a man in towadi so you say pay pa de ye dane sika ye dane sa position we mana eniama enkoyie but san say wa mo sikenti no and also he's the highest bid than tin na bia yakoto aba amano because the man present JM nani abre say obeye adwuma enti ese nya nipa ono nso betumi ayede aboa no ama eniema watoto niema yie na say sana yekokotwa no troka na chese yekoye ana say ye bae enti captain the best the delegates no enye ye na council of state no so ni obewi ni bia no so no ye man netri nkwa na yasre ne so no so dwumadie na omo be hye nsa no eye dwumadie soro nwa aso pa omo ba omo nya ni eyie emaye Ghana ho hia ye nyina.
All right. And to say ye di kan e ka kire wo no ebi koso na obi anwe obi so dia wo ho omo enwe ne ko nkakran northern region inipan nine ene gina se yento won so aba Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni Richard Andani Yakubu Enafe Inyandi Abdul Rakib ene Adam Hussein enipa ekọ ho se wo kwoto abani na ye 32 watu wie no na Adam Hussein wenye 0 obi anto amano Inyandi Abdul Rakib wenye 2 adenam so mo ni fiase ekọ soro to the ode asepa ni nya 0 ena Richard Andani Yakubu sunya 4 ena Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni unya 26. Wow. And this is say ya me no ka say no Alhaji Mohammed Mumuni ono na ye Council of State member elect Emma Northern Region.
I'm a former MP.
Patrane.
Okay.
Ti ono se ya me no ka say Northern Region police abet bi dey atoso ye yi ono preko. Nya dia omo chekura omo nchero ho kura 943 ya kan awie yi no to Northern Region ato ne de awie eyi nipa obegina one name so omo Council of State member Lucas Yerian and a year presiding officer or share ye Emma Batway etimi echo so fe say ya me no kasa ide obi atene ho ase agent no Abdullah Baba nejire ma Alhaji Muhammad Mumuni dini de aka no nkrofo no mo trot say doctor for enti me hu bi ye me hu Abubakar wo ho Sadat on nejire ma Adam Hussein ene wo wa aka no one doctor Adina ejire ma Yandi Abdul Rakib enti Northern Region yewie ya to yewie mo wini no win wa win and so na eno anu no it's obvious
yes mo
I know na doubt TV no so no it is say out of 16 ya de ba ko a kire o de akari na de betoto aso matese Central Region and so ato awie and abono awie ahafo ato awie Volta ato awie Eastern ato awie Greater Accra Fuguso nti ya de bebre wansan ya sorry yakọ ibe hu de
So the composition of Council of State you and I will admit composed of revered individuals and panimfo ahemfo akese Ghana for respect for them, but in the last 8 years I mean open one institution Ghana for bastardize ye pa na a Council of State. It got to a point Ghanaians were rendering it useless. So it was one of the most useless institutions adentia, because the core mandate na Ghana for expected from them say ombeyeno. That is not what we were seeing, because it got to a point that now president was taking reckless decisions. I said, now why need to buying for? And do as a Council of State and they two are buying for. I understand advice is not binding. Said the cannot power no power, but I also believe that we two will be for now consistently or say on fire. The best thing you can do is to resign.
That's all. Because
you don't sit there and be taking fat salaries and enjoy those things when the person you're advising, is so intransigent. Say, okay, so am I Ghana for lose respect for that particular Council of State? May until we redefine it and assign a different role, and I said you better define roles or play clearly. No, I'm not too convinced about the impact the Council of State will have on our governance system. I know that there are huge money in a year trogu, but if you are being paid, I think that people should be able to assess at their value. But if it is advice is not binding. I know that the president is not under any instruction to take whatever that is being said to him or whatever. So I think constitutional review now, we need to take some of these things into consideration. Now you look at the functions of the Council of State. Now you're making sure that it look relevant in the eyes of Ghanaians. Because it's not just about the people in, it is about how people see what you're doing and how they accept and appreciate it. And I think and then they drive this particular conversation. And then you cry now walk and yes, sure say among folk when say about Council of State people don't know. People are not interested. You understand? Actually the value I lose in recent times because of what happened in the last 8 years. In the past, na idea about what's here, na it comes with some veneration. But for the last 8 years, so individuals going in, I think that they have a responsibility just to ensure, I rebuild the tattered image of the Council of State. Now you are rebranding it to a point. Ghana for me who say, "Sabi emfaso also a juma mudia That is the only way. And yes, sir, Captain. You bet me to a year man for the Omako, you turn out to be the same thing, and Fasobia muscle. So they have a responsibility. Yeah, to a barman, it's not just a make hokeke, or make impact, make your impact. Yeah, then I'll Ghana for feel say, these people are doing this, and I'm almost so another day. Say, yeah, Tanasia says, Obia way, you behu your hand in the way and manner things are going, and that is the only way Ghanaians will appreciate. And Captain, answer na me can't we honorable another pray.
So to say NDC ni MPP ni
yes. Oh, I wonder why the IGP enya arrested by this time. Captain, Because you cannot make such reckless statement in public and get away with it. And as you know, you're mere and as if nothing has happened. Say an ordinary person when they come making this particular statement. Ebianka and Kojina Koto Yedinasem. And your violence and our inciting, and this is a person who is supposed to be an honorable person representing people in parliament. When you do that, you drag everybody around you into the mud. Then people begin to question whether you deserve the prefix honorable or not. And I've seen a lot of social media debate. I don't know that it's because of this behavior. And in recent times, Yehu Niema Akoso, was it not the same gentleman who in parliament can say NDC for saying so Muntino, it's okay. Okay. Abra Galam say issue about ye debate. And the same thing, and our committee shall say behavior Akoso, ye bubu microphone in as a forum is the same person at the center of way, and then Yababedruha. I think say you see, say the Jumadia Shawonsa, Captain, it doesn't mean that when you mean such a Ubiao. And at this point in time, you are the person who can help us deliver this. And I think that we need to replicate that by respecting the people. By speaking in the way I said, but consistently you go crazy, make loose, reckless statements, and you think that people respect you for being just honorable. No. I like Speaker of Parliament when he told them, the honorable members, before people will respect us, we need to respect ourselves. What is going on in Parliament is so embarrassing. It's not everybody though, but Captain, when you sit around and the perception and the impression people are having about this particular thing going on, it's not nice. And you can't be making such reckless statements and get away with it. So I'm employing the IGP. Say what? Because who's a man for the toy gun, a video, social media, or dear Chile Mahuzo bia video safi baby or in some kind of the police for draw ya kwakwacheno asema papa na kan no I think he must be arrested and I say yam friend now me chirichirim because or endanger the life of people. Ghana no na you know ya bedu a point among 40 politics I say so say nsem hunu no o kan kro obi amfiu but there are other people one way they carry on with those things. Right. We can't live in a country where people will be making such reckless statements and in the name of whatever, they just get away with it. I think the IGP must rise to the occasion. Now we'll show leadership, say, we do not condone such things. And the NDC majority in parliament, they have the absolute numbers. But I think that they cannot afford to show weakness. Captain, numbers now all parliaments is here and the NDC has absolute majority. The minority cannot influence anything. So psychologically, what you can do is to create a scene, create hostility, aggression. Say your presence will be felt. Yet about when they're running the show, is it not a minority? They are running the show. Do you know why? Because they don't have the numbers to influence any decision. The only way they can do is to ensure that they create that hostile environment for you so that you cannot do whatever you're doing. Politics, any Pentecost meeting, no, you need to show people say you are not weak. If you have power, you need to project that power. The minority then, the NDC, when they unpassed all of them, through Okuja Tony, your friends say, some Georges, no, a branch away, what has one in sa. You probably and sour and can you because at the time I offer for the second bet, you know. Now a bubble signal to the sense I can't watch them any Ghana for were angry. They were looking for said that guy will not get a pass. But NDC and go washing in Sa. But this time round, Okuja Tonya Fio, the Oya answer or what to fight corruption. Sam George, the Oya answer or Chernabing. But a fellow marking them goes on my home self. I'm telling you, sir, we need power. You need to project power. Politics is not Pentecost meeting. You need to show and project that power just to let your colleague who say, we are weak. Because once you show weakness, you are done. And I see that signs of weakness in the other side, even though they have the majority. I think they need to tell their colleagues on the other side, say, they are not weak. They have absolute majority and they are in charge and they are running the show.
Bam. I don't know what to now. Tables, no.
Well, that did not me over, but not in the horses.
Okay, so I said, and then I say, 8th Parliament, 9th Parliament, no. As a more young idea to say, Kuala Mudin, the team agro. Why?
I want to say, Captain, you know, say, I want to say, the 8th Parliament was a very unique Parliament. And for the first time, we had a hung Parliament. Or, in other words, we say a balance. 137, 137. Now, independent. Yeah. So there was that struggle for recognition or whatever I should say, well, and the way we did things was different. And I presented Ghana for with opportunity to make certain amends. And the first group to take the step was Parliament to amend our standing orders. Say, yeah, the standing orders. Yeah, Green must say a Chinevino
hang Parliament.
Hang Parliament will happen. It is a hang Parliament by. So hang Parliament now and take advantage of things that has happened. Now new standing orders to reflect going in the future. The same thing, our constitution also did not also make provision. Say, when we in a situation now, quite a so resolve. And the command say, if Parliament a year and Yama at a point, parliamentary proceedings they call judiciary. And then there be more
you and I will admit composed of revered individuals and penning for him for Kessie are Ghana for respect for them. But in the last 8 years, I mean, open one institution Ghana for bastardizing a Council of State. It got to a point Ghanaians were rendering it useless. So it was one of the most useless institutions in Kenya. Because the core mandate na Ghana for expected from them say that is not what we were seeing. Because it got to a point that now president was taking reckless decisions. I said, now why need to buying for? And do as a Council of State and need to buying for. I understand advice is not binding. Said is kind of power, but I also believe that we will be for now consistently or say on fire. The best thing you can do is to resign. That's all. Because you don't sit there and be taking fat salaries and enjoy those things when the person you're advising, is so intransigent. So am I Ghana for lose respect for that particular Council of State? May until we redefine it and assign a different rule, and I say you be define rules or play clearly. No, I'm not too convinced about the impact the Council of State will have on our governance system. I know that there are huge money in a year trogu, but if you are being paid, I think that people should be able to assess a dear way and value. But if it is advice is not binding. I know that the president is not under any instruction to take whatever that is being said to him or whatever. So I think constitutional review now, we need to take some of these things into consideration. Now you look at the functions of the Council of State. Now you're making sure that it look relevant in the eyes of Ghanaians. Because it's not just about the people in. It is about how people see what you're doing and how they accept and appreciate it. And I think that and then they drive this particular conversation. And then you walk I mean, yes, sure, among folk when say about Council of State people don't know. People are not interested. You understand? Actually, the value I lose in recent times because of what happened in the last 8 years. In the past, it comes with some veneration, but for the last 8 years, so individuals going in, I think that they have a responsibility just to ensure I rebuild the tattered image of the Council of State. Now you are rebranding it to a point Ghana for me who say Sabi emfaso so that is the only way. And yes, Captain. You bet me to buy a man for the marco, you turn out to be the same thing, and Fasobia muscle. So they have a responsibility. Yeah, to a man, it's not just a make or make impact, make your impact. Yeah, then I'll Ghana for feel say, these people are doing this, and I'm almost so another day. Say, yeah, Tanasia says, Obia way, you bear your hand in the way a manner things are going, and that is the only way Ghanaians will appreciate. And Captain, answer na me can't we honorable another pre.
To say NDC ni MPP ni.
Yes.
Oh.
I wonder why the IGP enya arrested by this time. Captain, because you cannot make such reckless statement in public and get away with it. And as you know, you're mere and as if nothing has happened. Say an ordinary person being a making this particular statement. A violence and our inciting, and this is a person who is supposed to be an honorable person representing people in parliament. When you do that, you drag everybody around you into the mud. Then people begin to question whether you deserve the prefix honorable or not. And I've seen a lot of social media debate. I know that it's because of this behavior. And in recent times, Yehu Niema Akoso, was it not the same gentleman who in parliament because NDC for saying so Muntino it's okay. Okay. Abra Galam say issue about ye debate. And the same thing, and our committee shall say behavior air ye bubu microphone and as a forum is the same person at the center of way and then Yababedruha. I think say you see, say the Jumadia Shawansa, Captain, it doesn't mean that when you mean such a Ubiao. A Yahotoswo and a Nipanya Muse at this point in time, you are the person who can help at this. And I think that we need to replicate that by respecting the people. By speaking in the way I said, but consistently you go crazy, make loose, reckless statements, and you think that people respect you for being just honorable. No, I like Speaker of Parliament when he told them the honorable members. Before people will respect us, we need to respect ourselves. What is going on in Parliament? It's so embarrassing. It's not everybody though, but Captain, when you sit around and the perception and the impression people are having about this particular thing going on, it's not nice. And you can't be making such reckless statements and get away with it. So I'm employing the IGP. Say what? Because who's a man for the toy gun, a video, social media, or dear chile kwachi Mahuso bia video safi baby or in some kind of the police for draw ya kwakwacheno. Asema papa na kan no, I think he must be arrested. And I say young friend now me him because or endanger the life of people. Ghana no na you know ya bedu a point among 40 politics I say. So say nsem hunu no o kan kro bia mfiu. But there are other people one way they carry on with those things. Right. We can't live in a country where people will be making such reckless statements and in the name of whatever, they just get away with it. I think the IGP must rise to the occasion. Now we'll show leadership, say, we do not condone such things. And the NDC majority in parliament, they have the absolute numbers. But I think that they cannot afford to show weakness. Captain, numbers now all parliaments is here and the NDC has absolute majority. The minority cannot influence anything. So psychologically, what you can do is to create a scene, create hostility, aggression. Say your presence will be felt. Yet about when they're running the show, is it not a minority? They are running the show. Do you know why? Because they don't have the numbers to influence any decision. The only way they can do is to ensure that they create that hostile environment for you, so that you cannot do whatever you're doing. Politics, any Pentecost meeting, no, you need to show people say you are not weak. If you have power, you need to project that power. The minority then, the NDC, when they unpassed all of them, some judges, a branch away, what has one ye problem horo yensa wa nkanye Oforiwaa-Atta because at the time I offer for the second betting now wa bobo senior to the sense I can ho ahwe ma nenye Ghana for were angry. They were looking for said that guy will not get a pass, but NDC anko was in nsa e wo ne ho. But this time round okuja to nya ahwe o the oya ne say oboa to fight corruption. Sam George the oya ne say o kire na dwen, but afenyo market dem ko so ma hohoro mo nsa free no ho. I'm telling you say unya power. You need to project power. Politics is not Pentecost meeting. You need to show and project that power just to let your colleague who say, we're weak. Because once you show weakness, you are done. And I see that signs of weakness in the other side, even though they have the majority. I think they need to tell their colleagues on the other side, say, they are not weak. They have absolute majority and they are in charge and they are running the show.
Bam. I don't know what to talk now. Tables, no.
Well, that did not me, but not me also.
Okay, no, baby, and then I say 8th Parliament, 9th Parliament, no. As a more young to say, Kuala didn't let him grow. Why?
I say, Captain, you know, say, I say, the 8th Parliament was a very unique Parliament. And for the first time, we had a hung Parliament. Or, in other words, we say a balance. 137, 137. Now, independent. Yeah. So there was that struggle for recognition or whatever I should say, well, and you know, the way we did things was different. And a presented Ghana for with opportunity to make certain amends. And the first group to take the step was Parliament to amend our standing orders. Say, yeah, the standing orders. Yeah, Green must say a Chinevino
hang Parliament.
Hang Parliament will happen. It is a hang Parliament by. So hang Parliament now and take advantage of things that has happened. Nayamfa new standing orders to reflect going in the future. The same thing, our constitution also did not also make provision. Say, when we in a situation now, quite a faso resolve. And the command say, if Parliament a year and Yama at a point, parliamentary proceedings they call judiciary. And then
there be more paper.
Yes,
yeah, more best shares our Parliament national. More papers.
Yes, and it was because it was a hang Parliament.
And then where's the hang Parliament?
And that is why I'm coming at. Look, say and they say it will be madness. Excuse my language. Say time I speaker no. Nanka MPP. Akofa nipa ba say. Baby NDC. Ye ya dwen kire no. Omo ebi omo mpe ho nti omo de nipa ba.
Oh, there be the CPP file a candidate.
For speaker.
There is CPP file a candidate for 2024 election. Tell them me I'm a party.
So, but in that 7th Parliament, the only thing we needed to say, if we present a candidate, an MPP present a candidate, we only need to convince 1 or 2 people from the MPP side to vote in our way. And the issue about Parliament, that is how it is. In the time past, first deputy speaker and second deputy speakers, when they are presiding, they don't vote. And it wasn't a problem because the numbers were there. But and then, some say hang Parliament numbers in now about said that be and there's a first deputy speaker of the constituency nearby, second deputy speaker or representing Nkrofu, and the identity or presidia on Twaba, and eventually about Betma. And no na MPP for no free say, well, na NDC for no opposition. Among ye and near maybe an answer on my pressure via. Yan so even though a 88, and you know, we should revenge. Sort of revenge be and but now that it can't work. And they say I'm a control show no, I'm control show no. So only akwada eko kotobwa. Ye hono mo akanfo de se koto na yam kobo. Ye akura. Nkura na ekotu. Enti two first akura na we gya ma akwara no. Going forward now, so akwara no kura kum dudu no obedan dey ide. Yeah, so we are just giving them a long rope. Not that we don't know what we are doing, but I know, and you see, the minority will have their say, majority will have their way, but we don't want it to be clearly shown. Say we want to have our way, but let us allow them. No one so encan your money, not Ghana for. Nyamusha say Nancy, say Ghana for. Say Ghana for. I started judging them, passing judgment, and you know, going forward. Things will change. And a Lucy no so ankasa no MPP Lucy and also abo mu pusa. And that sort of frustration so Ghanaians should allow them to vent
no,
their...
we are not looking at
to
them
vent their
as...
frustration.
No, we are not looking
stop.
at, say,
So,
minority and as a majority. Some Kwalagro moody yes. Parliament.
You see, Captain,
like... when you know, Sabe, when you and a sunlight.
We are in a privileged position. People respect us.
Yes. Yako to Abama. As a yeah, to Abama mono mubu and say moi. Cause Monye Mumbomo Brani yet is a more money. Meaning Jamaica.
Captain, where the beer obey you?
Enna Mukodru hono. Say ye back, say ye me no. I can hear you loud and clear. Now, vetting. And yet MP back. So I will say MPs. A trip table. I said, Kuala work in the garden classroom, Madame Amba. No more didn't cram and grow. Now, microphone now, ye day a bicycle na aton. No more budu. Muya, Momodia Yenchemo. But obi the boy kitwe be a bobi car him. Ya chenatum.
Yeah.
Obi a bibi kitwe be o baby. Yes, so I destroy obi property. Ya chenatum. But mo must say akunya, must say epono, must say microphone.
Captain. Near Okam ya, son of Canny Biano. Son is Okano. But the point is that Speaker Atuanamu. Sisi Aminoka say. Committee na speaker atu se omunya adwuma no MPP side ni so omabokoto enya ade ombetie hearings no ombeko okay ye invite omma ena Ghana fo nyina susu hu asem no ne fareba ba bi e hase but yes natural justice ni say obema obi akwan na waye den waka na asem ena speaker ti committee enya saade a nka menu mienu baabi asam na yede e sha ase afiri but yemma obi akwa na omeka na say no scroll mo so omma enti yentwe na committee no present o report na yentwe speaker Adamu obetu afa ho se esese enkonya ye to nkonya na ewu ne ye to ana etua ho ka microphones na ya say na say etua ho ka because na me ka say me ho na me ni ho no that day na omo veti Salva MP transport minister I was and the area na me now into no wie ya na of me no pie me ko do me office am saw me TV na hu say na pinche no esi ho but before you be free no na yet say opposition for no ka it will not happen personally I didn't know what because one committee no want to know what will not happen I didn't know so ena e buy enti no kan papa mu no anka committee na ya atem e ma speaker cry e suspend bi mu e mo de facho buy oso yo mu me mo adwuma na emu committee no enya hwehwemu na mo fa report mra enti mo entwen committee no report ya entwen committee no report na ye sha say ye be ka ho asem bebra anhwe ya na ya tutu mikabone
Captain I think sir you see gradually, no, minority, no, a move away from being minority into a subversive group. The more is to ensure a smooth running of parliamentary activities, will come to a halt. That is the motive. Makatra why? Because they need to employ hostility and aggression in order to be relevant. And this committee, a speaker, to say, yeah, probina Ghana for whatever that happened, almost a monk. So I know that the key witnesses and people who are supposed to give us a closure on this matter, nobody is going. So I know that the committee report is going to be one-sided. Now, as to whether implementation of whatever be the outcome, no crab reflect the exact situation. That's another thing. So I'm saying, sir, you need to see these people, sir, going forward. Trust me, this parliament way is going to be the most dirtiest because it's the same approach they are going to employ throughout. That is why the speaker needs to up his game. Now, I will redesign the method how to handle the situation. Because you have the numbers, you have absolute majority to do whatever. I can't do anything. I'm just observing. That's not my catcher said, they're just observing. So observing, I need to create a scene so that I'll be relevant. And that's exactly what is going to play out. So I think that And we've gotten to a point that this is a group of people you are going to elections and they've lost miserably. As a normal person, this is what you do. You do sober reflection. You begin to ask, near I go wrong. I can tell you, one of the reasons why MPP lost miserably, arrogance. Arrogance, one of the key. But that is exactly what is being, your friends say, extended in Parliament. I think Markin Soro, you're not or Kasachere, the clerk of Parliament. And look at the language, look at the tone, look at the posturing. I'm on the Kasa to one another. So clearly, we have a long way to go. And the speaker need to rise to the occasion and say, I'm the man in charge. And yes, sir, because these people, they are so determined, this is what they are going to do. And the integrity of Parliament, because I've seen in recent time, they've held a lot of people, privileges committee. I want our power to hold people. You are abusing that power because there are people within the house, they are more than impunity. They are more than contempt. So how dare you leave those people? What is your moral conviction? Uja another for contempt. It means that you have the power and you abuse it. And as you continue to abuse that power, and I get to a point that people will not take you serious anymore. So I think they need to look within. Nasa nema we are yekan. Obonsha say nya ho adwuma. Anyasa nema bajin samu. That is what I'm saying.
All right. Mame damas na me fancy na sana ebe ko fine toso no so no. Menka belated happy birthday to His Royal Majesty Nene Sakiti II, the corner of Manya Krobo traditional area and the president of the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs. Nene.
Radio so now we a youth political activist, a social commentator for Ghana First. Now we call a minim radio stations do one more friend be Kumasi, be Accra, be across the nation. Na wo kwa koboa wo ye Ghana adwuma ni nyina mu so na wo say asua de ye wo masters nana why are there
yeah Dr. Red ya me na beda na say ana wo so no full time o
so na me kai full time pa anya say bia wo kwa koye na bia wa betena fie bi na why are there
ya me na beda na say I think say it's all good me more also abaso na me nchia wo no watiefo nyina na yanka say so we continue to do what we can. At least, so you bet me make a little contribution. I bet me aye. Nundina I bet me a shaping of mind on the politics, the social environment, and the economy. Nankasa na nipa bediye, and I think that part and part and obia yebi to complement each other. This ultimate dream, they bet me realizing. So I think that. It's all part of what we are doing. I bet we achieve the ultimate good. So I think that it's all good.
And then when you can say it's all good, and name him say, Yatisa Ora for the woman and Kratakuma president. And anymore one president, and then Kratani answer my attorney general. And there's a fast connection in Yafina, attorney general, Konhonwa Kwakoji. Your take on a year the Ora. Say woman did document akoma a the president na woman semu omo kano ebi ene se woman bomodia aboa the country ama ya save sika eti wo hwe the wisdom of John Mahama no a ensenka enye ora na ba de anka sene okujeto ablakwa wo kyerɛkyerɛ mu ene yi se senkenye president a enka Ghana ye japade bebre no ano enka eye Nana Adodankwa Ekufu Addo ene ne mpamfo nkomofa. According to him, was say the oral no save a year 50 bungalows from being demolished. Again, was say we a year oral no say Attorney General a year a born home no year Juma year. Ghana is going to retrieve a year 20.49 billion US dollars if we are successful with a year retrievals from 36 cases studied. Wow.
Dr. Ren, I think it's all good. And I'm proud to elections, Adiabakwa now a dominated discussion, now political corruption taking the center stage. We became so numb with issues of corruption to the point he said, "Not Ghana ni oh yeah." So promises are President Mahama making a brand new campaign. They say, "Obe making sure say any state asset, it will be a real biano. Obe making sure say we recover those things." So the ORA was, there's some kind of a committee aligning with that particular vision, and I think that despite the criticisms and those concerns from other side, Ghana for Dona Aji Jumadi or Moji Atumu, and these are the preliminary stages, estimations and figures being thrown out there. But I think that when we enter into the substantive case, Nankasa AG, Eshasiana Okuma, because reports no more abano and because we are talking about court. Some of the issues, the AG will have to study, see the merit, see the evidential value, and see how some of them may stand the test at court. I'll wait to be approval all these things because Ghana is not a banana republic. I'll wait to me we are saying to time nana. So I think that the raw deal, we are yet to face it. Because the course we a preliminary overseer prems and an ayabo getting information and as a for aura natimia gathering. So I was wondering why people were so much critical about your friends saying aura najuma. Or no any power so prosecute will be on to menchi will be ne the so gather information at no day or the president will forward it to the AG ehwem na the say call your friend say Yoko will go to Yoko the ever call special prosecutor say AG news so free so bit me it's just a matter of making sure say we address the substantive issues being raised in some of these things sebaya krono na koso okrum ha Emma Ghana for their bufuna come perokoto about to Akufo in for no. They don't go scot-free. Because I catch one thing Ghanaians will never forgive President Mahama and say, Chrono to chili dear course so chrome high. Yabada sorry Nakaso, Yenina Yankopon Mantino, Yenja Manenka. That is never going to happen. And I think his government, a failure to do this particular thing. Ghana for will never forgive him. So I think why are there? So what to me, I take that particular thing upon himself, and within short period, Ora Atimia gather this document. According to sources, they run out over 2,000 cases. In the coming days, I think that the AG office will be very busy to study all these documents and some prepare dockets. Be a bit mean. A general the court and other things, and I'm very much convinced that the state has a chance of recovering a lot of the loot and go forward the coffee. And say, who say Obi answer abo my sikama. It's not just have said Nippon Quanta prison, and I said we need to first retrieve those monies or assets and punishment in account you render to the person. I think that this particular idea way, I say this set example for whoever.
Nana, I'm say you lose wo. So what to mean kadia? Uguswa wuti a year rainbow. I'm say o Mike na mute. Abusia Uguswa wuti Rainbow Radio 92.4 FM. Yani yenuya a year nanachi and etwetwin. Asisi yenso to nka pa choto aso.
Enti babi ana medru ene say evidence your Magadai, I'm very much sure say Ghana will be able to recover a lot of the Nyama Yelusu individuals or Monam Kwan Moneso Abo Minor Car. This is the time for us to punish people severely. Sebeya, you bet to be establish that conventional deterrence. I mean, no come no. Now I guided a man for a more a buying win. Now no na make us but who's a nipa be position and sa company a body day a near gen as a form. Because they know, say, or mess it up, there will be no consequences. I think that these are impressions. Yes, you through or manipa who said, me end this in it, your mommy post will end this abaimu. Nasa me mess it up, the same end this abainu nibibedi. When we are able to establish those red lines, and I think that people will not feel so much comfortable messing up and going forward, these are the conventional deterrents. As you had to na a guide you be say or minor sabi. And yen and pina made that table so I check. Yen yina a future. Enti obi pabina one fakwan papa suna we need to punish that person. Sabi a bit me serve as a deterrent. So for me, I welcome this aura. I hope say babi akwa kodru yen konkonya ahemfo achena nko no mote president fie ye be pachawo asofo de wuza Ghana ha no politics no sabe enkura sema wura ma to the point say ochena behu na ohene we fafon wa menana na ye we ba masore ba na ye we me wofase na sansem hunu no wani be ba ahoso no na the whole thing aya foolish case na tese abaya politics keke. President Mahama has been president before. Onim how Ghana for any abre on this particular issue. Say ohene bi your friend say odi kuro bi osofo bi fra wo say na wo fase wom na wo bo humusuo na you let him go. It means you can't prosecute anybody. I think that the commitment of the president so far was shown very positive. It's great, it's good. It must be unwavering. He must remain resolute. Now making sure say obia sebi wa fa kwan bone so de nsabo man musika de menua enisa na somdwe no enisa na hoto sebeya ebeye lesson for those in his government no musu behu say de yade ye obi enei ochena wo de beba enti mebo mabrabo a esemebo ne ye. That is the only way we can save this country. And going forward, ora no phase 1 abesinko measures ben na yade gu akwan mu anti-corruption measures ben na yade begu akwan mu a amanfo mo aban mu enei omonso enkonko ye de asi. Dr. Ren, the NDC MPP, the bottom line is saying you Ghana for krono ne na sefo mo ditwa amanfo funuma ofie. And now quite sorry them kro movie a chain baby bosom so okọ your friend is a mosque or movie a chain baby ya enti nipa su yesuban. So how do we institute measures are going forward yam so yebetimi asi ho kwan se aban ya abai corruption emebu mfa so ko ade ba ko a ema Akufo-Addo aban elusu ne power ne leverage a Ghana for eduru baby na the name Akufo-Addo no mo mpesa o mbete kora has to do with corruption and na adware aban no eba ode ne nan besi form na wako atia no na wabu na ni agusu no ono ana o clear amamfo ene Ghana for abewura politics ni amamfo de o makom o madwen people are involved. The last time I was telling you there are people women be already over best 60 years in America or betimi of frame your phones who are the way all can Ghana and some children me cry na em I have a lot of your fans saying le ma kroma yetu ni say ma very often they don't get involved in politics na quite say member juma but na Ghana for multi ebinimi ma ebinimi member the way they are so much interested in politics happening back home here it will surprise you. So and then you can't take people for granted. So I think the absolute support of Ghana for the President Mahama I'm sure he has realized it. And he cannot afford to fail the people of this country. He need to go by how he has started. Because for me, how he's going, he's in line with the political promises that he made. And I'm sure he will continue like this. And Niamana Oya, so Ghana for Benya results. Because my culture says Ghana for they are not looking for much. They are looking for some of these things. I'll be say Abainu Jina the nice so Abaino are you ready to combat graft? Abino is ready to ensure that the state assets, state property, state resources are protected. Sanya mankiti when Ghana for EPC Ghana for person who say Abino enyam be quaint to hosa manfo wiam form huni. No. So with me, yes, Sanya mana. Emma Timamufo benya GDA ewa mamwonum. Akatro say Abain si hwa asem we da bia me catch was say Abain okona esi hwa te say danya. Enye soldier form bo ho ban. Enye police form bo ho ban. Ena Emma edan no the security intact. Na mum trust and confidence majority of the people in the country repose in that government and the ma aban no security ahoden. So whenever you see citizens unsubscribing their support, you know that government has become unpopular. And that's exactly what happened between 2022 to 2024. Eventually, Akufo-Addo did an imgwasia sa akofie. But it got to a point that Ghana ni bia folding the arms. And I watch monya na yenhwe de kwakosi. But these are people you need to build a country. But obia yi ne hu firim na omo wo chewa. There is nothing that you can do about successful. So I think this anema we nyina see a guide and going forward. Na ade ba ko a boy form e wo ha. Black man ya mamuo e ya homaso tantan tan na edwe asabi nipa ni nya tumi a na dwene se ote esoro ba bi o se den yo wo kanya nsasam kire na wontie obu nipa nimtia obi enra one ne kasa di nkomo all of a sudden no frɛ no kra mfa biem that kind of attitude na se for no just o free se ba bia waduru nde wa yeye saa nema no when you see those signs na wa wie ya na eba these are nema things as a guide na aban no who say this is a government for the people. They are there to serve the people. The welfare and the interests of the people, must be heralded in everything that we do. And I think that with that, Dr. Ren, trust me, governance everywhere, yes, there are challenges, there are troubles, but we'll get your priorities right, and you know what you want to do. Trust me, you cannot do all, but you do to an appreciable level. Even when you fail, people will know, say, oh, he did his best, or try it. Because the last time I was telling you, say, okay, South Korea, there was a time when government has tried, we can't offer the gold, we can't offer diamond, we among a tongue, at the man by Saji Nafakutia Waka. You didn't send near man, but we know you have tried. And I think that is what we need to do.
Yeah, that is what we need to do. Yani Ivan Che Innocent and education komo Rainbow Radio 92.4 FM. Na main cow say and then komoi yebeshe yashe the oral no yebe free wana yako the other matters are ekoso minority committee womu say oma boycott the vetting chaos committee na womu chirimu womu say chairman wa wadano no where you be I say wohunehuna the MPP for your take on it.
Yeah, Dr. Ran, I think that Obia or Hong Kong to boycott anything when you're interested in. And there, you can't hold a gun to somebody's head. Say committee, no chin so. But in 9th Parliament, we shall see near my back one, Nambi, be a mayor who know, ebedi a dance as I say, and share. Macatro said the 8th Parliament, I had the worst parliaments in this under this Fourth Republic. But you are careful. This parliament here, will turn out to be the worst parliament, and it will become the weakest link in our democracy, even though the NDC has absolute majority, Dr. Ren. And the signs have started showing lack of cooperation, some of these, your friends say, arrogant display of childish emotions. And then as a form, way and the cardinal things are a bit defined this particular parliament. And the reasons are quite simple. The NDC has absolute majority to take whatever decisions. The MPP, which is the minority, cannot influence decisions. So the only way you can become relevant is to create scenes, cause commotion and stuff. And this over here said, Parliament, we shall say, the side that air trend power has to do with the minority. Because of the intransigent, belligerent, aggressive posture that they have assumed. And so I know the day they are always being captured by the cameras as if say Omona they are running the show. And going forward, trust me, this is going to be the massive characterization of this parliament you see until the speaker and other side realize this. Now Omo try to do something about it. Because this whole essence of setting up this particular committee in the year, Nema Ekokusi, and I may know you can't say why that particular thing happened in Parliament. Now, I am very shameful, very embarrassing. Because you, as a kid, who see politics, you wake up and you see grown men who call themselves honorables on TV, behaving like children, like in the way that we saw on TV. Nema state in the Dinisika Koto, we found out their bottom na say Nema no sebi class 7 na ekoso with TV. So the following day, as a normal person, you will expect after you admit you apologize unreservedly to the people of this country. But the following day is when we saw the altercation between altercation because the clerk of parliament was quiet. But we saw Kwanya Federal marking fast or Cassatia. The following day was Babontin Bepane Chow and no and at this committee you try say you're from Ghana for and you try na investigation as to what exactly happened. Then we wake up a day and the minority tells us that I don't trust in Nipana Otia Nimuninte Menya. And I'm telling you, This is going to be the normal characterization of this parliament. And what's your psychology is so easy to understand because we our absolute numbers. They can take whatever decision. We cannot influence anything. So the only way relevant is to create a scene, cause confusion, be aggressive, be hostile. And I know the day, issue no bad. The core issue now we won't talk about it because any day you come, we don't have the numbers. So what Parliament we shall say the focus ni nyina ye ntoko amokokon ye. Omo ya suspend omo. Committee ya set it up. And then almost on my boycott committee to committee in the boycott no and sa niema we na take center stage a define parliament to but adwuma na air cost nobody is talking about say we don't even know any other thing relevant thing parliament is doing but they are working but nobody is reporting. They are reporting these scenes and these scenes prominently a future the minority and as childish as some of them think saying as some of them are, they think they are running the show because I would see some of the they think doing this, they are running the show.
And into no the mighty few,
Exactly. Adopting hostility, aggression, that kind of your friend say impunity stance, because after all, so the whole thing is to make the place, not conducive for business. And I said, because Nema no Koswa go to their disadvantage. So that is what I'm saying is until such speaker didn't embassy from I started from a very bad note. Very terrible note. But now no make catch say nipa 4 na or pick your more or so suspend your mono. It didn't make sense. Or you can just watch TV and say who nipa 4 on them suspend your more and yet class 1 that teacher need pay free abontin bar. Well, we a table so we no one who now punish you. No, this is parliament, representative of the people. Say any crime no be a committee no ya. You need to take your time, do investigation, findings now so now what their punish you be because it is not any other place but parliament. Because every single person there is not alone. They are representing a constituency. So to suspend that person, you must have enough justifiable reasons because you are not just denying the individual by whole constituency. So I was expecting say that investigation because of, but I don't know the methodology the speaker also adopted. Then he handpicked 4, suspended them. The following day, the guy comes back and says, so what is the essence of that investigation? What do you call it?
It's like the whole thing looks like a joke from the Speaker of Parliament.
It's like a joke. Because Nipa now fire and also they should go. So I know the day. See a investigation who said Nipa can be and a number moso. And as I asked them we see Dr. Ryan, would you check the Omo would can say then these people too you need to forgive them.
You heard them, heard your work. The speaker was too a friend is saying quick to jump the gun or an intent crowd.
Oh, exactly. I have also listened to the other side of the argument where people say, you need to suspend those people so that you can do investigations so they don't interfere. Don't do that analysis. It's a difference thing altogether.
But those people that they shouldn't interfere. They are the same people that we've called them to this friend is saying.
Exactly. And the institutions, we are talking, if you understand it from this, parliamentarians, they are not just individuals. Every parliamentarian for constituency. They are representing thousands and millions of people. So they are not just alone. So answer now about suspending or no, you need to have enough reasons to say why you be being tina, even though it's just 2 weeks. But they are supposed to represent people. And people know when we are setting up a committee, and a committee na probe reading a report about punishment, then you are premising that punishment or that suspension on something substantial, evidential value, undeniable. But out of nothing, and I don't know how you couldn't defend it. The following day, after your marking into Simo Muboja about Parliament, I will say, your friend is saying, that particular the offense and was suspended. About size, I question as a unim the way. And you know, pressure near my eco system, no drive. I think that leadership must be very absolute and unwavering. Decision once what take it. Sabaya, a man for who's a winning the way. But Osha say, these signs are people will not take it serious. And that will even give the other side the motivation to do more. Because you had the course of parliament here, and then that committee now, Nema we see, we have offended Ghanaians. We are doing investigation. The participation of the minority is crucial because much of this thing, a man for we instigate here, do not from their side. That's a okasa omma, and it is a committee. They can even get to a point that they can even say, omo members, they will not allow them to appear before the committee. You can't do anything because it's not a commission. But may compel people to come. What has I'm making I say? So I think some of these things going forward, a speaker, and one more than what's not parliament since 1992. I think he needs to show leadership. He needs to show that he's strong. He needs to show that he's in charge. Because if you leave doubt, if you create any weakness around you, trust me, these people will capitalize on that weakness and they will destroy you. For the past 1 week in here, 1 month in here, Parliament, apart from scandals, ACC, you don't hear anybody saying anything. And vetting or more, and my men know with me TV Zoom say, oh, and somehow could you to ya no idea, Mesha, a brandy obey me, Jumano. And somehow could you talk can ye, Mesha, brandy, on to me, Juma, as some fellas can ye, as some Georgia can ye, and that the average Ghanaian is not being given that opportunity. Omokotena sabi sabi childish questions na ye bisa na hwan na hwe na me yere na hwe me na just ensembunu kwa. So the vetting na kasa what is supposed to carry sabaya ya beti ase say abrantie betimi aye adwuma na ontumi nya no, we lose that objective. But that is the objective constitutional framers setting up this vetting committee. But we are losing it. So the sideshow, what is supposed to be a sideshow, a flip into the mainstream. And then the main objective, a slip to the periphery. So now the objective now says a peripheral matter. And on some who not take it the center stage. And the one person bet me spend 3 solid hours asking childish questions and wasted time. Oh yeah. Now I can't just say young pong. And almost wasted time in a nippano, a bit more young point. I say, Mom pond the idea and so yamon yet, and your best same Guyano, near Chessa, I quite Ujim How and Tassia. I think somebody must show leadership. Sabaya Sansim, New Year, Cosono. I don't believe, sir, Parliament quite deserve apology or Oliver and render to them. Because you force this guy to apologize to you. The following day, you sit on TV and you disgrace yourself in the manner you did. What is that? Abranti will say, I'm not on pros of mine. In Classicasa be on radio.
You remember a hope because I also can't your topic no ye be no. Na me per se a year ye tear for the tears. Yes, speaker the suspension was suspended a year a year politician. Ebimu busa say na a year constitutional po. And now standing orders no a man who kwai. And so you hear the constitution and the standing orders no. Per what I have researched about a year Martin Pegbu and a year Ura, a year Oseiche Mensa Bonsu, former majority leader of the the 8th Parliament, can I say the standing orders no. Emma who kwai see a best suspended will be the name a year suspension no. Should be based on a process involving in a relevant parliamentary committee and then no just for a day. Na constitution idea to me be anyone speaker better baby na 1 month will be suspension. Constitution who
Dr. Ren, I think there are various articles in the constitution, as stated clearly in the case of maybe insubordination, and I say obiya dia what has to be done. Who the famous case your friend is saying Dome Kwabrenya MP who have sent it from Parliament for a certain number of days without your friend is saying
Ajwa Safo in the 8th Parliament of MPP.
Yes, these are clear-cut we are constitution, you know, at the at all. But you see, when it comes to suspension, if the constitution, you know, state categorical say nipa we are waiting to suspend now, Dr. Ryan, Parliament is just like any other institution, and within there are disciplinary measures everywhere in every single institution around it, even including the White House. And this will be called White House is here now. On next, the young staff koda. You see, for U.S. Constitution, and names will be no because koda as I was suspended. No, every single institution be our certain procedures when it comes to disciplinary measures that has to be adopted, even if they are not in the Constitution. As an institution, these are regulations that obia add here. If you go to various universities, they have disciplinary offense measures. I am sure that organization you have your own code of disciplinary regulation. It is applicable to everybody. Just say Parliament, because I'm saying these people represent people. So the best thing the speaker could have done, said Mr. Kachiro, say, premise that your friend is saying suspension, you know, on something substantial like your investigation. Outcome no near way, and as a house, you know, these are disciplinary measures. Activity. You don't need to make reference to the Constitution. Because every single institution has internal disciplinary measures. Never go wronger. Ubet media daily. And this is here, Parliament upon says here to MP back say, Washasi a laptop, and bag game the coffee. Can we say, your friends a constitution in my home can say, your friends are waiting to suspend the MP. Abraya China will wear a laptop with their codified, you know, or find ready. No, there must be an internal, your friend is saying, disciplinary measure. Be an answer will be at your betty. Among them, no, or they can prescribe punishment.
So, far, to say you're working, a trim and I know, sir, you follow the American politics. A trim call a year the days of a year Monica Lewinsky, a year Bill Clinton. A year Bill Clinton, I swear, and the O to say when Monica Lewinsky, any na ekopie mu court, na court, every share and say mu. A year a friend is saying the White House, one more refer a year a seminal, na ekopie a nim ewo court. Na court who said no, the president then. In 1998, no, we chantro under oath. Na 1999, court in move from 98 to ABC 99. No, one more established said a year Bill Clinton edintro under oath into a fine a year $90,000 for court a year say or a year we didn't throw. And to send a wookie, it means for every institution, you know, disciplinary a year actions, you know. The code of conduct, you know, but I think that the speaker the send a working a kwanya was fast, you know, a mampemrike to a jump the gun and later on after was call back to effect a year the due process, you know.
Yes, and I even Parliament standing orders, like Constitution, you know, but standing orders in the year and running share more time say ye fee. These are and shaya so yet the air boy buying within this house. These are rules. These are rules. So, Abayam one was a parliament, within no any internal disciplinary code, and then associated, and then I house in your serious house. Yes, any organization be any internal disciplinary measures be or the crack the whip within, you know, and that institution, you know, you're serious. So
someone one a year our gentleman and a member of the Face the Country a year director Brian face a year a friend is a Ghana now he raises the concern say Parliament one you say abranti be you see or the car or the bobako car ye tamo no he among for crashing and I dream kakra and so cry a panished. Now, one more margin munka, one more sember, and one can say bubu table, dear. I didn't think one to Parliament to a Yahoo San your way, causing financial loss to the state, breakages and damages to the taxpayers' money, or they are talking, they are talking, a friend is microphones. Why don't we have a clear-cut punishment for them? They're quite just a suspension.
Yes, Dr. Ren. And some of these issues, are stretching beyond Parliament. I think that when people enter Parliament and they do this nasty stuff, then at the end of the day, the body that ends up having power to deal with the matter near Parliament in itself. Because many sure say in a court, court to say, na say clerk, a court to your friends say be a security monana, security court to be mona, because a court in deal with the matter. A strictly police case. So in a situation where physical damage caused to state property by men and women in Parliament, these are issues stretching beyond Parliament. And I was suspecting, I'm told the early stages, Speaker a report to the CID to do investigation as well. You see, we need to extend the realm because a internal issue, internal policy, internal parliamentary committee. Nipa no multi committees parliamentarian. So I know that say nothing better will come out of it. So Parliament will do everything to shield itself. And I think that is what is creating this this barbaric culture. Once after all, be investigate a committee in the and you think Parliament will come out with something that will death itself? No. I think that we need to get serious. Now you raise governance. My culture says, we see, I thought that we are so rigid in our thinking to the stand said. Because I believe governance is an art. One would define it and you only define it. Because there are no templates to be a double be a governance say no, it is how you do it. So I think that time has come for us to stretch our thinking. Now you're thinking outside the box. So these are the challenges we are facing. How do we resolve them? And some of these parliamentary issues, I think that they must go beyond. But yet, police folk could class say IGP investigation. So when the Bakwadin Semuna, Soja for Nokakudin Semuna, say military investigation. Parliament could Semuna, say parliament investigation. At the end of the day, we won't get anywhere. But ordinary person, they could Semuna, na yatunama police in CID in the court, na fiako jailino.
So which means it says the ordinary Ghanaian idea, Emran idea, Wahodada, and Yafin set up committee. One more police in the MPs and the ministers in the one more the idea, one more no, and then we are living in a country where then there is a classism, approach being defined here. Now these are the poor people, these are the locals. Let the law deal with them. But for those who are not the locals and the so-called ministers and MPs, let's define a new law for them.
Dr. Ryan, maybe this is a simple question. Sir, in class, some are not on penning as a former in the parliament, or Mokan near my booming. Just imagine the Nipana or Mokoko observe, or Mubi and a yes, I deal with ya, and Casamarian under prison.
Oh, na senki begun anymore, I say. Na ya kase another emprenwa kase Ghanaians emre ye can fix the country see we should fix our attitude. Do no crowd and go bedri mika crowd kase emfa ne court ne ko jeli ni pakro no. And
do you think that person never set up committees, parliamentary committees yem probe no?
Oh, you better waste money be there be dada. Ombaka say a waste of money.
Yes. So why are we treating this thing? Because when you're internal matter, a distraction to state property, somebody need to pay for it. Citizens are interested. Who is holding who accountable? So you see, these institutions are nurturing impunity. They are fostering it. And they will grow to a point that Parliament now a nuisance to itself. That is why I'm telling you, sir, current Parliament way a better thing to have any moral locus. Say a throw, be say a society will be for contempt. Uja afenya marking her other society will be for contempt. Uja your friend is saying another umbrella society will be for contempt. Then it means that one casano, you don't have moral conscience.
So why do you think say these parliamentarians have the audacity to say If it is the ordinary Ghanaian, the law should punish them. But if it is them, what do you think it has to do with the followers? I want to do much that look up to them and make them look like they are demigods in Tiana.
No, you see, we have a stupid approach to power, a very silly approach and certain orientation to power.
Silly now, not on fool.
On the serious, on the silly crowd. Dr. Ren, we have that silly orientation. Say Nipan wa buying more or who saw a super god to be out there, they are living above the sky. And that will be a war or mine will be like we and what be more. And they are treated differently. And other people must be treated differently. And over the years, Sana never play out. So we've gotten to a point that the media, the citizen, unnormalize those things over the years. And so I am normal. And as some Americans say, as a question that will be said, nobody has even questioned that particular thing. But they forget to say, these are people, institutions who are supposed to set the standards, set the example. Sabiya nipa ebeye. Because so Fred Oliver Bassett wagu enima sinti omepa ochew. Because you want to uphold the integrity and the relevance of Parliament. Sabiya ube project a certain power to Ghanaians. Say so we disrespect here. This is the consequences that are with you. Not why man. The following day, you go extra mile to disgrace yourself in the manner that we saw. Another day, now see your power to hold Obi for contempt. Whom do you think should be held in contempt?
The whole thing, Oliver coming there, has really even, throw more light on the behavior of the parliamentarians themselves.
Yes. And Oliver Koy, those childish emotional tantrums, well at play. Because you listen to, because this is a guy, yes, from Apachao. But you saw another prayer. I thought you are a man. Your friend said, show you are a man. That kind of, as a provokuno, things like, you are the one out there talking nonsense. Now we've gotten you. So it's payback time.
You're not even bold to defend your own words.
Yes,
show that you are a man and defend yourself.
Exactly. So those words, portray, say, this is a guy that targeting on and
now, so face the country, so not on prend one attacking and say, face your attitude.
Yes. And yan na yan children say yan so and never to yen. Now, Ebia or Channel Benyo Bia, what can't back up Yachero? Because one Casano. Your friends are would penny nam. So you don't respect yourself. Bible moons ya same crime according to penny nam.
Jacob needs so
yes, Sana Quaquay. Parliament they could do a point at do na de or more penny na namare. Tia pneumonia friend and pneumonia dear. They can never have it. And that is the point. And you see, now no me catch you say offer your constitution, Dr. Ren. Constitution, I'm making it deliberate. What project a certain power and authority to an institution parliament. But they forget to say, sa power no, constitution no emfangu nipa or more house no namum to the institution. And we nipa na sa we MP. You have a responsibility to live up to that expectation. Constitution, the house, Sabaya, you enjoy that respect. I don't know if you understand the point.
I get you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good. So the reverence the Constitution bestow on Parliament, it is not to people within, not parliamentarians, but to the institution. And the answer now we womb na obenya that respect na you have a responsibility to live up to that. Your friend is saying, we reverence na Constitution, but the house is there. It's an institution, we respect the house. But the question is, can we respect people sitting in? The American, it doesn't mean that Obia or Parliament, because I know a lot of decent-minded individuals are. Role models, some are examples, some have discharged, some are very intelligent. Nema inspire others and then as for them. But there is this rude awakening. Some incrophobia be ulama. Omona omo yasa name hunu we and sa nneɛma we start here abra if parliament coming to life till date. Because there are individuals that I don't know, they don't even deserve to be anywhere. But because of this cheap politics, you know, they've been able to find their way into parliament, and they are desecrating the aura of respect our parliament is supposed to enjoy. And consistently, the house is sinking. Enti Asambaba, about Supreme Court, the Chief Justice can sit there and issue directives. Oh, Parliament, so who will be resident because yes, dignity now or no, obiya move, including the court. So they can just give you instructions. They will tell you what to do. I think that they need to sit up. They need to. We respect the institution, but the actions and the inactions of some people within the house, you know, are making it very difficult to extend that respect to individuals within the house. And I think that Speaker, our responsibility part this time round. Sa attitude, sa culture na audit if Parliament, you know, say the same posture in order by way, but they are trust me. This Parliament is going to be a dirty one.
Wow. Yanko tie and assembly a good from him. Minim enka topic no de we are quickly no mabo a another umpire a tape no a container full of cash ubese dollars any a gold wo mu chese wo mu hunu amasaman Gan West na manfo ka se we 4194 no mu de wo mu adwuma na se Ghana for mpanyimfo ebi ana wo mo ankasa no akɔwie sike bi a wo mo de AC yenkotie.
The national security has made a massive bust, seizing a large unspecified amount of US dollars and Ghana cedis, including other counterfeits, hidden in 12 20-footer shipping containers. The containers were tracked to a warehouse at Sapiman in the West municipality, where a special operation was conducted after a tip-off. The cleverly concealed currencies, mostly bundles of US dollars, was found in wooden boxes filled with cement.
Rainbow Radio.
Other boxes opened in the warehouse during the operation revealed extra currencies stashed in boxes that are barricaded with plywood and concealed with charcoal. According to the national security operatives involved in the operation, 2 containers are still on the loose, but state security trackers are hot on their trail. Meanwhile, a manhunt is underway for 4 suspects, including a ringleader known only as Alaji. The warehouse yielded even more shocking discoveries, including boxes of metals suspected to be gold bars, counterfeit notes in 50 and 100 cedis denominations, and fake Ghana Army uniforms and boots.
We a man for say we know the one when you buy a lot of business here, we can wash ibiana. We de kwa client and we de kwa baby and the client no go say ye japadi bebe the wo honti to bebe $10 million bi ansana ye do consignment amount. And I say could he also be say a asem no kra ankasa.
Yeah, Dr. Ren, I think sir adeba point M1 say such a high profile case, you know. Say a babontina, you expect to say security no abaya Ghana for favor. Not a more touchy a lot of information to it. Because as some way to say no, you can't just throw it out with limited information. About how you create room for people to speculate. So at the end of the day, you said dollars are a good wooden boxes mark 12 and yes you can get to some na ye count. As to what I said dollars near fake dollars and near genuine money. Whatever, there must be some communication because I know the day. So it should not travel into the public space like this and it turn out never catch a Ghana for say a fake dollar or we catch us a fake dollar, $1 partner. What's the son I would fake ya ba?
O sa kai kra wo si alaji bi do bit pega so ya alaji ba umia ana se bi ya alaji bi fufuru bi ana meboa.
So once I want tip off or what carry out such operation, you know, I think that they need to do due diligence. Sabaya will serve public now. You serve us with doses of credible information about because and I've read through the various social media platforms. limited information. So people have started creating their own version of who and who is involved. So it's a speculation kitchen and as to when they're true, when they're true, nothing, because in some national security, the buyer said they had a tip off our South municipality somewhere Sapiman, a bra container and so forth. Because I did way I see, and yet the perfume be an a Dr. Ren. The magnitude of cash involved in this particular thing, as some me who go ban and so forth, as to whether they are fake or not, fake currency now. You could see this is a criminal syndicate. All pretty at a higher level, and this should be a national security concern. Say addressing a yachio and yet watching on a Ghana for a party, but why, how, who is involved, to what extent, Sikano, what is the level, is it counterfeiting as for her? So you come out with clear, defining information, so that when we are speaking like this, we know where to shift the conversation to. Is the person a politician? Is it connected to anybody? Because in recent times, you say politicians US dollars will kroma among fanko bank. You're packing or them. Among 4 to 2 or more dying home near their shower near plaster. That is what they are doing. Among 4 is a dollar good poly tank him. Among 4 2 form at the dollars air show because the copanga. You may be some so yan or he. Among 4 the security show among passing. And that is the so when you discover such a heavy bust and there are no much information around it, then what the that in some that people begin to conjecture, people begin to speculate, people begin to recreate their own version of explanation just to explain what has happened, because the other information because we need to now make one allergy yedin. That is allergy. And I think say we are no more allergy yedin. So how can a whole national security ever conduct such an operation? Na you pursue nipa 4 and then fire home. Now when you nipa na mahunu sa one allergy yedin. And when you're ready, don't bring it out. But by the time I would there should be information sharing. Because that is the essence of communication. Because as I'm not kind of nipan and the womb.
We be kwa kujina say send your benko for a man for send messages Alaji Bawumia Mumuni. Alaji Bawumia Mumuni. It will Alaji Bawumia some no more can for vice president Dada which one. Mean yes, you say Alaji Bawumia one some no can. Oh no, Obi wa a friend or say Baron or say was see a friend is saying yes, wash business. IGP knows the guy long time. He works with Ghana police. He has been doing this business long time ago. Hey, it leaves room for people to speculate.
Oh yes, and at this then I ring. A criminal syndicate. They've been operating this fake dollar business, a multi-billion-dollar a business amount for you. And some of these monies are passed through some of the banks. People, high-profile individuals in this country are aware. Because counterfeiting, there are great. There are some, the counter machine can read them, a buffer. So these are high-profile business amount for a year. And some of these things, I think we need to pay. And in Ghana, a man for a create US embassy will be a moment visa man for the go US and we have US embassy. US embassy, baby, and a Brimako create or man casa US embassy. A mama new visas, man for the coffee way too kind. So I chose that these criminal enterprises, Duma. Ghana sika no so no system na manfo etwa gum oni nyina enti oman no ya ba ya crippled in this effect, whether they are Nigerians or whatever na Ghana aba ya a hub of criminal enterprise where syndicate around the world can just converge, because in the past we've heard stories Ghana aba ya rally pond with cocaine business or person with the cocaine called Europe and na se for no at some point now your airport where an air transit point, there has been a lot of documentary about a site Ghana as a transit point so far as this illicit legal defense and drug business is concerned. I think we need to address some of these things, and the approach, hasn't always been effective, because I know maybe who knew now I got angry. Yes, why are they wakobasti? But the information around, and then maybe these people don't realize how widened the information space has become. And even YouTube, and I bet began an individual be on the YouTube page or be a person feed information. So when you throw out such scanty your friends saying information on such big catcher, or be able creating a version. And a time will come, you cannot correct the narrative, even with the true fact when it comes later, because the other 20 power game in a quarter that.
What raises another point too? So do you think it's essentially a working and they will be a journalist, will be a blogger, will be a vlogger? Do you think it's about time social media they emirato to home said there will be regulations and so that people will be putting in more fake news and other stuff?
Dr. Ren, one thing we need to understand is most of these social media platforms are liberal platforms, and I hope you understand that. For the sake of your friends say free speech. Then I say for free speech, every disinformation and misinformation is a risk that is attached to it. But to say I'm crashing down me crack it down on your friend saying the amount for much on social media. In America, they've tried a lot, but it wasn't successful. And then the man acquire Twitter and now so be more be fan candy or pay. So you may try, but you can't because my culture said we are is evolving and then you consumers of news will be out. Consumers of news and any pass be villages that they don't have access